Before I take you into the night that quietly destroyed everything I thought was stable. Before I open the door to a moment that rewrote my entire life. I need you to do one small thing for me. If stories like this touch something inside you, if you believe real experiences deserve to be heard, please subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, and stay with me until the very end. Your support is the reason I can tell stories like this. Stories about loneliness, about invisible pain, about moments that don't scream when they arrive, but change us forever. Now let me take you back. There are certain nights in life that don't announce themselves. They don't come with warning signs or loud chaos. They slip in quietly, and by morning nothing is the same. That night was one of them. For years, loneliness had lived inside me like a shadow I couldn't escape. It followed me from room to room, from day to night, from one silent meal to the next. At first I tried to ignore it. Then I tried to fight it. Eventually, I surrendered to it. I was 54 years old, but inside I felt exhausted in a way age couldn't explain. Not tired from work. Not tired from life. Tired from being unseen. My heart felt used up. My spirit felt hollow. And my marriage, once filled with laughter and warmth, had turned into a place where emotions slowly suffocated. Albert, my husband, was 65. We had shared decades together. Yet somehow, we had become strangers living under the same roof. Most evenings, I found him asleep on the couch, the television murmuring to itself, his body sinking into cushions that seemed to know him better than I did. When he wasn't on the couch, he was locked away in his study. That room had become his sanctuary, his escape, a place where he didn't have to face me, or the silence between us. He wasn't cruel. That almost made it worse. He simply wasn't there. I could walk past him without him noticing, speak without being heard, exist without being acknowledged. And slowly, piece by piece, I began disappearing too. The house felt less like a home and more like a cage. Every wall echoed with words I never said. Every corner held memories of who we used to be. Sadness turned into frustration. Frustration hardened into anger. And anger eventually collapsed into helplessness. All I wanted, just once, was for Albert to look at me like I still mattered. Not as a responsibility. Not as a routine. But as the woman he once chose. But he didn't. And that night, something inside me finally broke. My hands were shaking as I picked up my phone. Not from fear. From exhaustion. The kind that settles deep in your bones. The kind that comes from begging for emotional scraps for far too long. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I dialed a number I never thought I would call like this. Hector. Albert's nephew. 27 years old. Young. Attentive. Present in ways my husband hadn't been for years. He was the only person who ever looked at me and didn't see inconvenience or pity. He saw me. When he answered, my voice nearly failed me. Hector, come here, I said, barely holding myself together. Please. Take care of your uncle. I'm leaving this house. The words rushed out like floodwater breaking through a dam. Did I mean them? I still don't know. Maybe I wanted to leave. Maybe I wanted someone, anyone, to stop me. Or maybe I just needed someone to realize that I was drowning. Albert wouldn't stop me. He wouldn't even notice. Hours later, the front door opened. I stood in the hallway and looked toward the living room. Albert was asleep on the couch. Mouth slightly open. Breathing heavy. Completely unaware that my world was collapsing just a few steps away. That sight did something to me. Not anger. Not sadness. Confirmation. Then I heard footsteps. Hector didn't hesitate. He didn't linger in the doorway or wait to be invited. He walked straight toward my bedroom, as if he already knew where he was needed. I was trying to close my suitcase, but my hands wouldn't cooperate. My emotions were too loud. Anger, fear, grief, and beneath all of it, an ache so deep it felt physical. The door opened softly. I turned. Hector stood there, concern written across his face. Not distant. Not tired. Present. Diana, he said gently, you can't leave like this. I let out a bitter laugh. Work through what? I asked. With Albert, the man who hasn't looked at me in months. I turned away, my voice cracking despite my effort to sound strong. He doesn't care if I stay or go. Nothing changes. It never does. Hector stepped closer. Not rushed, not forceful. You're not alone, he said quietly. And for the first time that night, the falling stopped. I turned to face him. Really looked at him. There was something in his eyes that made time slow. Concern, yes. But also something deeper. Unspoken. I pushed the thought away. This wasn't the moment. This wasn't the answer. But the room no longer felt so cold. His fingers brushed mine accidentally. I caught my breath. Don't make this decision from pain, he whispered. You're hurting. You're exhausted. I'm not confused, I said softly. I'm empty. I'm not staying for Albert. Not anymore. Hector froze. Something shifted in his expression. Panic, guilt, restraint. You've always deserved better, he murmured. I didn't argue. Albert was leaving Saturday. 2 days away. I told Hector to act normal. To stay quiet. Just a nephew visiting his uncle. He agreed, but I could see the tension in every step he took. Those 2 days stretched endlessly. Albert noticed nothing. Not the packed suitcase. Not the air thick with unspoken truth. Not me. But Hector noticed everything. Saturday arrived. Albert packed early. Walked past me like I was furniture. Hector drove him to the airport. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Because when Hector returned, his eyes were burning. You were right, he said. And in that moment, I knew.